All right, welcome all of you to You Can Achieve Again, UYCA. So, we did two parts, right? In the first one, we discussed the broader picture of it, what are the aspects through which you can look at the current scenario or the scenario which has been happening for some time, the incidents or the events or the disasters, if I say so, that are happening for a while, different perspectives to look at it. But broadly, again and again, I am talking about two most important aspects under which you can put all the smaller aspects, the broader aspects of cinema and the broader aspect of business. Now, in business, you got the functions of business where different functions are working together to make the business happen. But what we are talking about is that was old kind of management. It can be medieval, it can be very old or regressive way of doing management. But in modern management, we that's why the industrial revolution happened. 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. So marketing strategies changed. If you read Philip Kotler, you will realize how the digital uh, revolution happened and how it changed the dynamics of marketing. So there also you had 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. But this is not about the terms only. We are talking about the essence of all these concepts. Now, if you look at human resource management evolution, also there also you will see that before it was like the laborers only, the employees were treated only as laborers. We have talked about that. But gradually, once you went to the or you have come to the modern business scenario, then you are respecting your human capital because they are the assets for your company, right? They are working together to make it happen. And once you gather that mindset, it's a very like a wholesome approach, if I say. Again and again, I'm mentioning this thing: your internal customer, your external customer. So the customer centric approach you are taking, that can help you in both the ways. You are taking care of your customers as well as the employees, internal and external customers. Now you have to understand, suppose if your mindset is like this, that I will be having chicken kebab, tandoori, karai chicken, whatever it is, of its like the best things I will have. Or maybe I will go for gourmet, you know, maybe lasagna or maybe other Italian food, French food, whatever it is. We will have that food ourselves. But when we give it to our own countrymen, our own audience, we will give them maybe a fast food joint, maybe a bit of momo, maybe a bit of chicken roll, fried with very stagnant oil, fried with very old oil that is being used for a long time again and again, and they are keeping it and again using that. Not fresh oil, not something healthy, not using air fryer also. So imagine that scenario. You are having all these things yourself, but the moment you are giving it to the audience, your own countrymen, if I say so, Indians, if I mention specifically, true Indians, what are you giving? What are you offering? Something they don't like, but you are wrapping it with a glossy thing, something which is sparkling, but inside there is nothing. We are talking about VFX. If I give one example, because VFX is one thing you have to understand, because before uh, these current movies, attempts were made to enhance the VFX before, few years ago. Then also you didn't have a story. Now also you don't have a story. Then also you didn't have good characters. Now also you didn't have good don't have good characters. But what do you have? Propaganda. You have narrative, because that is what you are continuously thinking of. How to manipulate people, how to propagate that narrative, how to propagate certain points of view that serve your purpose. And then you have a gang who is coming together to praise you, so that you keep it going for a while, and then eventually people forget about it. But now is the time, the nation is awakening, the country is awakening. So for that, you have to understand this metaphor or this analogy, if I say so. This is the scenario. What is happening? Oh, I don't watch Hindi movies again. The way you are telling, in every which way, you can show that you are a slave. You don't respect your culture, you don't understand your culture, then how can you expect to make a movie which is based on the names which belong to the culture? This is not rocket science. This is as simple as that. A 5-year old can understand these basic concepts. Initially we used to have pulp comics where you used to talk about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and different things. They used to have comics, and then we used to get the story, the essence of the story, through comic dialogues to characters, because they were authentic about expressing themselves. There was no propaganda, there was no narrative. They were expressing through a different medium, which was the pulp fiction or a pulp medium, whatever it is you can call. But they created characters there also, intricate details they used to work on, so that they will create archetypes, different characters, the way they are giving their postures, non-verbal body language. That is like storyboarding. You look at those pictures, Panchatantra Boli, ba, if I talk about Ramayana Mahabharata in those books, if you have seen, I know that many can relate to it. You will see that each and every frame is like storyboarding, what we talk about in movies. When you do storyboarding, then also you are giving a lot of effort in terms of storytelling or narrative building for the sake of the story. Narrative building for the sake of the story, not other issues, right? So each and every, you have seen the comics, you have seen these things. Some people something is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So that is like Ramayana Mahabharata, you have seen. But the effort you are putting to make that, each and every frame you are creating from scratch. Now, if we talk about that, Elotier was made in that way. There was a script, there was a storyboarding approach, and since I always talk about business, and business, when you do efficient business, doing efficient business is also about your resource utilization, right? So when you do that, they did a thing called previs, where they actually did the animation 2D or 3D, where they actually created those characters, and they did a run, like a test run for those characters, so that once they go into that production mode, they are incurring a cost in terms of art direction, they are incurring a cost in terms of production design, in many other aspects. You talk about acting because the cast is there, you talk about cinematography, right? Cinematography is there, you talk about art direction, you talk about production design, whatever it is. When you are actually shooting your principal photography, I talked about your principal photography, right? When you're doing the principal photography or you're starting the shoot, then you are going for the actual production. So suppose if you go to this, suppose if you have made a script which is based on propaganda, movie X, let me compare movie X. You have made a script which is based on a propaganda or whatever it is, then you didn't do enough storyboarding, whatever it is. Even if you did for the sake of VFX only, you did, and you went to a production. In between, if you have done anything, that is not reflected in the production. So lazy about resource also. You have it, you are spending it. It is talking a lot about your mindset, your passion. And the thing is, two questions you need to ask in this respect. Two questions you need to ask. Very important. Do you really care? This is one question. Question one. Do you really care? That is one thing. Question two, what problem are you trying to solve? Now, I once had a discussion with some New York based filmmakers, and we were discussing about all these things. That was, I think, 7, 8 years ago. What problem are you trying to solve? Are you trying to solve? If you don't have your clarity, if you don't have your if you don't have clarity regarding this thing, then whatever you do afterwards, it doesn't matter, or they don't matter. Eventually you are going to fail because you don't have clarity in the first place. Sometimes what happens, you don't have clarity about the process you are going to uh, in make, or the process you are going to take into consideration, or the path you are going to take. You don't have clarity about that, but you are having clarity about your vision. So you are starting about a vision, you are starting about a feeling that after my movie is made, after it is, again I'm talking about this thing. Last day we discussed in the business scenario, we did the production. After my movie is finished, I'm giving it to the distributors. After that, I am giving it to the exhibitors. Now when my audience is going to the exhibition theaters, then whatever I am giving to the audience, they are feeling something emotionally, they are moved before watching the movie, after watching the movie, because of the story, because of the characters, because of many other aspects. That's why we create movie. So storytelling is a huge part in that. Now to tell that story, we are using different tools. Asras, if I say so. Acting is your asra, cinematography is your asra, then your art direction is your asra. But you understand what is it? Your asras are not supposed to torture the audience. That is supposed to uplift the audience or move the audience emotionally. So, with one word, you can understand the mindset, the passion involved, the craft of movie making, the craft of storytelling. Because ultimately, what you are doing, if just answer this question to yourself, if you had been the audience. So, just let me talk about it in a detailed manner. Two questions you can ask. There are two ways to look at it. Before I go to the cinematic, because I'm mixing everything together and I'm telling you the essence of cinema and business. Because if you understand what I am talking about, then you understand cinema as well as you understand business. The best of the blockbuster. And if you think that you don't belong to the tribe, then you don't belong to cinema. Let me be very blunt about it. So there are two approaches. What I am talking about is there are two approaches. Approach one, and this is approach two. Approach one, you ask a question. As I say, asking question. Now, if I explicitly mention, what do you mean by asking question? You don't even understand that. What is meant by asking question? Question. Let me tell you one question, which is a very fundamental question. If you or I had been the audience, or part of the audience member, দেখতাম কি দেখতাম না, এই অ্যান্সারটার মধ্যেই আমার লুকিয়ে আছে আমার কোন প্রসেসটা, কোন মাইন্ডসেট নিয়ে আমি করব। প্রোডাকশন হলো, তারপরে ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন হলো, তারপরে এক্সিবিশন হলো, সিনেমা। ঠিক আছে, you can understand that. Approach two is, I am having classy food, I intake classy food, understand, as I said, understand in my own way, which is a very shallow way, preferably a shallow way, plus propaganda, plus perception building in terms of image building, in terms of storytelling, narrative building, plus narrative, everything. Perception building you can do in two terms broadly, as I said. You can do narrative building or you can do role play broadly. So your characters you create accordingly, your narrative, your story you create accordingly, and this is what you are doing. Actually, you are building perception, especially people who are vulnerable, the young chaps, the young people who are learning about it for the first time. They are the most vulnerable, and you are not taking care of that. So you are not taking care of youth. I don't watch these movies. I'm being very blunt about it because I have to, so that you understand. Now you take the classy food and you have this, you go through that process and then you give a junk food to your countrymen or to your audience. And then what you do, you compare these two. This is where many people make the mistakes. Comparison. This comparison is where outsiders, outsiders in terms of or foreign investments, they don't know the culture, they don't know whatever you're doing, they are looking at you from in terms of face value, trust. It's a matter of trust. Foreign investment, when they're doing, they're comparing that we made this and we are also making this. Character similarity, what is similarity and comparison? Two things, two tools, two asras in their way. Similarity I have, comparison I have. I'm comparing these two in terms, it may be in terms of characters, and you don't understand the context. Where is the context? You are doing bullshit work, right? Where is the story? It doesn't fit to the culture. So this is not India, strictly so. But this has been happening for a long time. You take the classic food, you do it in your own way, and this is where there is a tribe who works on it, tribe or sect. They are continuously looking towards this process to enhance this process, do subtle nuances, sophisticated processes. So over the years, it has become gross to subtle because they are looking at this part, how they will do this process. But ultimately, what they are offering is junk food. You talk about process innovation, we talk about process innovation, we talk about product innovation, right? In terms of business, let's talk business because we talk business here, right? And when you do the product innovation, you're looking the cinematic aspects as well. Your casting, everything, casting, etc. Everything regarding cinema. Everything you have to take care of, all the aspects of cinema, elements of cinema, because you are doing product innovation. So now is the time. What you have to do is this junk food you won't provide anymore. Make a resolution. Let's take the resolution today. You won't give junk food to people. No junk food. I don't eat, they won't eat. Right? Belonging, a sense of belonging. We are creating a sense of belonging. So what are we doing? We are doing the product innovation here. So your product innovation comes here. We don't do junk food, great products. Plus, this is the solution. I'm giving you one of the biggest solutions. But that also you have to take this approach. The moment you think about product innovation or great product, eventually you will shift to this approach. This is the thing you have to understand. Indian culture teaches you that. Higher education. You look at it scientifically, you look at it artistically, whatever it is. You can look at it scientifically, you can look at it artistically, you can look at it from the business perspective also. Okay? Now, if you don't understand it enough, then it's a competence issue. So there are two things I will mention again. One can be attitude issue. Issue can be one thing. One can be attitude issue, one can be competence issue. When you put all of your effort in this, that's an attitude issue. Because you have the competence, at least you have some of the competence. That's why you are making these movies again and again. You are bringing the entire crew, you are making it happen again and again. But the issue is with your attitude. So if your competence attitude is there, then you can learn. but your attitude has to be at the core. So your attitude has to be here at the core, and then comes your competence, which is the outer layer. If you focus on the outer layer and your attitude is in the wrong direction, then obviously you will come up with the same shit, and audience will keep rejecting you, and you will still keep asking the same question. Why the audience is asking? It's not about the taste, my friend. It's not about the taste. It's up to you whether you give them the classy food or at least something which you can cook yourself. That is what we are talking about. Junk food, nobody will like it. They don't have any other option, they're just having it. So it is not about the taste. You give them something which is tasty. So give them something. Great product, you give them something tasty. You do it in terms of process innovation, product innovation, whatever it is. But it all starts with the attitude. ঠিক আছে? I think এখানেই আমি শেষ করব, পরে একটা ডিটেইল ডিসকাশন করব, that will be after 2 or 3 days, but you just introspect on that and you will understand a lot. ঠিক আছে? Thank you so much. তিনটে ছোট ছোট সেশন করলাম, part 1, part 2, part 3, but I think 1 ঘন্টার মধ্যে you will understand a lot about cinema, you will understand a lot about business. Again, when you talk about promotion, so I will give 1 or 2 nuggets just to end it. When you talk about marketing, you are only taking care of promotion, right? So when you do the promotion, you are also looking at this part, this block, the double click, because that promotion is guided by your attitude. So the attitude is driving that promotion, if I say campaign or whatever it is, right? So first you have to take care, if you take care of your attitude, your direction will change, your casting options will change. You will put more focus on the narrative, more focus on the story, conflict, emotion, and everything, because you are trying to tell a story. Then if you have to take a cast, a specific cast, you go for that cast. But first you have to understand what it is about. ঠিক আছে? So understand this block very well, because that is where many people are concerned about, that is where many people put their focus on. So they eventually go away from that product innovation, or that great product or tasty product, which is catering to the taste of Indian audience, because they are very high level audience. We have produced great doctors, great engineers, great performers, great artists, and many other people. They are leading in many businesses in the world. They are leading in many aspects in the world. They don't have any other option. That's why they are not doing, they are not going for other options. Create more options. Taste is not the issue. Product innovation is the issue. You cannot tell a story properly. That is the issue. And there are many other issues which will come which we will come up with, and we will talk about all these things. But if you have focused on the way I am saying, then you have lost this thing. So it's an attitude issue, competence issue, because as I mentioned before also, when you use in, that means you are using in. When you are using into, that brings a momentum, right? So you have to bring your energy into the product innovation. Then you can take the product into the marketplace. But that momentum is built based on your enthusiasm and your passion and love for cinema. লাস্ট পার্টটা বোঝা গেল, ওই জন্য এটা একটু হেভিয়ার হয়ে গেছে, ওটা নেক্সট গুলোতে আমরা আস্তে আস্তে আলোচনা করব। বাট ইন্ট্রোস্পেক্ট, বিফোরটা আগে করে পরেরটায় আসতে হবে, নাহলে ওই পরেরটায় ভেবে থেকে গেলে বিফোরটা পুরো রিজেক্টেড হয়ে যাবে। ঠিক আছে? সো আই উইল এন্ড ইট হিয়ার, এন্ড দেন উই উইল প্লে এগেইন।